The Pink Pulpits Podcast, the gospel according to her. The Pink Pulpits Podcast explores the living, learning, and leading of women in the 21st century. How does the modern woman handle the world the gospel way? This podcast is for women in ministry, women surrounded by ministry, and so many more. Join us weekly on Saturdays at 6 p.m. for the Pink Pulpits Podcast, the gospel according to her.
What does it mean to discover God's plan for your life, and why is it important? Anybody?
Okay, since I started first last time.
Start first
Now. I'm just first. Well, first of all, if you do not discover the plan of God for your life, then you're just existing and you're unfulfilled. There's always going to be a void. You're always going to be mimicking or trying to become somebody else. Your plan, your purpose that God has designed for you is just that. It's for you. It may look like, it may be similar, it may be familiar to some others, but what he does, I think, and most of us up here that's first ladies or pastors will probably say, I am so different from what you would know as a regular first lady. I got locks, y'all. Okay.
You got locks. Locks.
Yeah, and on purpose growing them out. Y'all wait till y'all see me 2 years from now, baby. Trust. But I would say, I know my plan, I know my purpose, and I've known that for the last 33 years. We've been in full-time ministry for 33 years. My daughter will be 33 years. And I walked away from industry. Yes, I have education, I've worked in industry, I've had businesses, all of that. But for 33 years, my number one, and it may not be everybody's, but I knew my call, I knew my plan, I was called to my husband, because when he came to me, he said, God called me into ministry, full-time ministry, and I need a wife that's able to roll with me. Can you do that? And I said, well, I'm getting ready to go to Columbia for my master's, and I had to go and seek God and say, okay, what is it that I was desiring? And the Lord said, I want to be married. I wanted to be married. I wanted to be married, and I wanted my 2 children. I didn't want 3. I wanted my 2 children, so you couldn't talk me into 3. Wasn't going to happen. And I wanted to be married to my husband. I didn't want to be a first lady. I didn't want to be a preacher. I didn't want to be a worship leader. I wanted to be married to my husband, who was a minister, go to church and look cute, wear nice church suits. Not these, but y'all know the thick suits, And that's what I wanted to do. But the Lord said, you are called into ministry, and your family is called to ministry. So we raised our children for ministry. We didn't raise them for corporate America, although they are both smart as a whip. They can do corporate, but we raised them for ministry. So my purpose was to be the mother that God called me to for them. I could direct their life for ministry first. My kids are not perfect. They were not perfect. But the call that God put on my life, my purpose was my call to my husband, to ministry, and ministry to women. So all those things lined up, and I'm happy. I'm happy as a lark, y'all. I am so happy. I've been happy for the last 33 years in ministry because I knew what my plan was early on.
That's good. Anybody else? Why is it important?
It fills your life. So just like she said, you have a hole that cannot be filled by anything else until you find it. It can't be filled by, she mentioned, shopping, and I can't wait to see her next week to get my handbag. It can't be filled by shopping or abuse of any substance. It can't be fulfilled by another person. It just can't be. You will have that hole until you find out what God placed you on earth to do. Just real quick, I grew up, went away to college, got the degree, graduated from college. I had a boyfriend. We were talking about marriage. I had a car. I had a great place to stay, living with 2 of my sorority sisters, best friends. I had a great church home. I had a job that let me go and do whatever I wanted to and didn't bother me. Those kind of jobs, you don't necessarily love it, but they let you just kind of go on about your business and you can make them photocopies for the church thing, right? And so, yeah, y'all know y'all got paper on your hands, I know. And so, but still, and I was active in church, like all those things like the world says, get and go and grab. And then I still had a hole. And that really shocked me, because I was like, well, what's wrong? Like, nothing's wrong. But nothing felt, there was that hole. And nothing felt right because I couldn't get that hole filled. And so I literally asked God plain, and that's how we roll. I was like, what is it that you put me on earth to do? Like, you made me this, 5'1", 100 pounds of fun. Like, what? Why did you make me like this? Why did you birth me now? Because we could have been birthed anytime. He waits for the time that we're supposed to be put here on earth. And so that could have been any time. I was like, why am I here now? And he answered me emphatically. It was to go, since I saved you, go and tell somebody else about me. And the thing that my parents used to drag us to church and make us sing, the thing that I was running away from, I just sang because it was just, you sing. You go to school, you go to, church, and you sing, and that's what you do. But I didn't know that those years were forming me into what would become my destiny and the will of God for my life. So I'm like you. I'm happy as a lark. Every day ain't good, but the whole of my life, the string that runs through it, is that the will of God lined up with my desire. And it's just like the best thing you can have. So now, if I'm not having this fuss about Thanksgiving, because I don't like to cook, and if you come to my house, the only thing I say to you is, listen, it may not be the best food you eat, but it won't kill you. But if God had blessed my hands to be able to like cook and burn the kitchen, then I would be telling people about Jesus over some cornbread or a turkey and all that, whatever. But this is how he gave it to me. So I'm telling you, whatever it is that he's gifted you to do, you probably already know what the purpose is for it. But you're running away, you're ignoring, you're like, well, that's just something I do on the low key. That might line up with the will of God for your life. So people ask me all the time, well, how do you make it in the industry? I don't know. How do you keep singing? I don't know. I just know what God told me to do. Yeah. And every day, I wake up and I try to do it. So please, ladies, pray, ask him, what is the will for my life? And when he answers, be all right with the answer.
That part right there, somebody.
I find that, being in God's purpose and perfect will concerning you, sometimes it helps you to grow, number two, and it can evolve. You may start one place.
That's good.
And then when you end up, my story is quickly, all my life I wanted to be the minister of music at a big church so I could just do all the plays and just have the choirs, do all the things. That was most important to me. Now, but as I've grown, now my husband and I have adopted 2 baby girls. And if I tell you the plays and the things are secondary. But now I feel called also to the world to share this gospel of Jesus Christ. So from adopting these 2 babies, my husband and I now have an RTC home where we are helping boys find their way. They live with us. They live in our home that we have for them and we get to mentor and share things and give things. So my purpose to me now, even at this age, seems to be doing this. But I have never felt more fulfilled in all my days.
Wow, that's good. Now, what if what I want
Enjoying the Pink
doesn't
Pulpits
align with
podcast?
God's plan?
Be sure to like and follow us
Does
on
God
Spotify
not want
at
me to
Pink
have
Pulpits Podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube at Pink Pulpits
No, you can have
Podcast.
it.
Like
It's
and
just
save
not the
our
will
website at
of him for your
pinkpulpits.org
life,
and
you
get our amazing No More
still
Silly
have
Women
a
app
hole. Now,
to
whether
get
the
all
hole is
updates
big
on the Pink
or whether
Pulpits
the hole is
podcast.
small,
And
there'll
remember,
still be
it's the
something
gospel
missing
according to
from the
her.
totality of what it is you were purposed to do. So if you can live with that, like, listen, this is what I do, I'm getting my hustle on, this is what I got my business, whatever, then that's fine. Just like Pastor Saras, I want to call you wrong, Sarah was saying, do all of that. Like, get it. Don't let no dust settle under your feet. But just be clear that if it's not the will, it may not fill whatever that hole is. But yeah, I'm about to go on Poshmark. I'm about to do all that stuff and sell some of this stuff out my closet because that's just a part of the big picture of my life.
Yeah, let me explain something about the will of God. When you think about the will of God and the plan of God, and when we are in a church environment, the biggest mistake is to assume that the will of God and the plan of God means you're on a podium. That's so good. That does a clap right there. It means that you're on a podium in the pulpit. Because you're sitting there right now, and you're looking at everyone here and thinking that the plan and will of God for your life must mirror and mimic this exact thing. There were 12 tribes. Only one was called to the priesthood. If y'all don't write that down right now in this moment, okay? So there were 12 tribes. Only one was called to the priesthood. The rest of them were in industry, marketplace, business. Artisans, craftsmen, just different. Yeah, so it was, you understand, so they were not all serving in the temple. But the reason I'm saying that is because you have a lot of temple servants in front of you. And we're talking about God's will. And you can think that you being a nurse, you're not in God's will because you should be preaching God the gospel off of a pulpit. When you could be preaching the gospel every time you inject somebody, the way that you carry your life in the hospital. Maybe you're a school teacher and you have the ability to impact through the unconditional love of God every child that you touch, and that is also purpose. That is also God's will. Maybe you're an attorney and you're helping to rectify or sort things out. So I want you to understand that the purpose and call and will of God, when we use those terms, it's oftentimes mistaken and joined in with preaching and doing that from this avenue. But preaching the gospel takes many different avenues, and it's not always. So freeing yourself from that expectation. Because what you'll do is you may have something in your heart, and because this idea is bred into your head, you're discontent with what's already God put in your heart, because it's not matching what you're groomed to think. And so then you think you're really not in the will of God, when many of you may actually be right smack in the middle of your purpose and calling, and you may be searching for something you're already in the middle of because you're thinking, man, I need to be like Pastor Nicole, or I need to be like this, or because when Pastor Nicole talks about calling, we refer it to preaching from the pulpit or in ministry. Understanding that ministry is just serving others. It's not a church building or a church name. It is serving, the act of serving other people. That's what a minister is. So whether you're ministering with your ice cream truck, you're ministering, as a librarian, you're ministering as a mom, what is going to be most congruent in your heart? Wherever there is purpose and you're in your calling, there is an agreement on the inside that's unshakable. When she was talking about fulfillment, that's what you know in purpose. There's no, what she was explaining was like a hurricane. Inside the eye is calm, peace, satisfaction, fulfillment. Outside here, we've got bills due, we've got order to things, this person contractor didn't show up on time. This event canceled on me. Oh my gosh, I didn't. That's that. Yes. But inside, yes, there's something that goes, it's all right. Yes. It's all right. You're going to deal with that because that's life. But in here is solid. So some of you may already feel content and at peace and in purpose in what you're doing, and you do have those things that are going on, but it hasn't moved you. And then yes, some of you are called into purpose that looks or mimics something like what we have. And some of us, you may not know, have multiplicity of how we magnify that purpose. So you may see us in this one avenue here today because we're at a women's conference. But like Pastor D was saying, but she may have a business on the other side. You know, me and my ex-husband had a business, and I now have my own business. It's duplicity of expression, but it's singularity of purpose.
Yes, sir.
My purpose is to serve the world with unconditional love, and it may manifest itself different ways. Somebody may say, okay, there's a question that's lining up in this. When Jesus was over there he was born in the manger, as we know, right? And then time went on, and Herod sent some people to come kill him and find out, he won't die. And then God says to him, hey, listen, I need you all to go hide this baby in Egypt. The purpose of Jesus didn't change because the strategy did.
Did y'all hear that?
You understand? So the strategy changed because he needed to move to Egypt because there was a threat on his life. But he was still called the Son of God from he was born, and his assignment was still to be upon the cross at the end of the day. How he was going to get there, though, shifted. But the purpose didn't shift. The strategy did. So many are the plans of a good man, right? But the Lord's purpose still prevails. And your steps are ordered. So don't be afraid. Oh my gosh, if I could just put this into you when it comes to purpose. I want you to imagine God saying yes, not no. When you have a 2-year-old child, anybody knows they have a cousin, somebody, a 2-year-old child. If we had a 2-year-old in here today, not one of us would be concerned about the 2-year-old till they reach for one of these things to pull it down, stick their hand in something. That's when we go, to get them back. Hey, we give them freedom to explore. But we think God always is coming from the place that we're trying to electrocute ourselves. So we do not allow ourselves to explore and allow him to say, hey, stop. What we're doing is holding back. Should I, could I? Is it the right time? Should I make that? Maybe, Lord. Well, your steps are ordered. He's just asking you to get to stepping. If he have an issue, he'll say, go to Egypt. While they were stepping, he said, go to Egypt. All right, there's going to be a time you're going to need to come back out to Egypt and come on up. But what we need to do is stop thinking that God is saying no and understand he's saying yes. So in your nurse job, in your attorney job, in your business, in your preaching job, he's saying yes. If God have an issue, he loves you enough to say stop. But stop living from the stop standpoint. Search. It is not mysterious. It is not that difficult to find the will of God. It's not that frustrating. Walk. And if he have a problem, he gonna tell you something different. Until then, keep going. That's what I got to say.
Say good job. Good job.
Next podcast. She done wrapped that one up.
And that has been the Pink Pulpit Podcast number 2. The gospel according to her. The fight for purpose. Discovering God's plan for your life. Amen. Can you give it up? This was so good. I want to honor that you all sent some questions, and we're going to answer those. They're going to still be on the podcast, like a thing like kind of after. It says, I've been an entrepreneur for 3 years, but when I try to get a job, I tend to lose them quickly. I need a job to sustain the business we're going to talk about, but it hasn't worked out. The last job I started let me go after 3 days because they said there wasn't any additional work for me to do. They said I didn't do anything wrong. I've been doing entrepreneurship full time, and I need to work it to keep the business going, but want to know if I should get a job. Yeah. Anybody want to answer that? I'll jump and answer. But go ahead. Kara, you got 2 businesses. Y'all, she has a business called Cuddles. For all of you that live in Indianapolis, she has 2 daycare centers, and they're really not daycare centers, they're really child care centers that, sorry, okay, all right. Child care ministries. See, now she doing all spiritual. No, it really is. Watching her and these children, the kids are learning about God, they're learning about life, but they're learning about it at a whole nother level. This is not baby watching. This ain't just kid watching. She's transforming young people's lives, and it really is a blessing to watch and see. Cause they call, what's your little tagline? Little people.
Preparing little people for a big world.
Preparing little people for a big world. Isn't that cute? So, can you answer this question? I'll answer it too, but go ahead, you answer it. He said, you heard me what I said, right?
Yes, one of the things that I was going to say before Pastor Sarah jumped in, and wasn't nothing to say after that.
Nothing.
But one of the things that we were talking about purpose, and I was going to say that your purpose can tend to change along the way, depends on the assignment that you have on your life. And
Tune in next week for the Pink Pulpits Podcast, the gospel according to her. Be sure to like, follow, share, and subscribe this amazing weekly podcast with your host, Lady Nicole Green. That's right, the Pink Pulpits Podcast, the gospel according to her.